What if tomorrow Earth's invisible shield suddenly vanished? Within hours, satellites would begin to fail. GPS could stop working. Deadly radiation from the sun would start reaching our planet. The sky might glow with auroras across the entire world, but that beauty would be a warning sign. Because without Earth's magnetic field, our planet would be exposed to the full power of space. So how long could life survive if our planet lost its protection? Let's find out. Deep beneath our feet, far below the continents and oceans, something incredible is happening. About 3,000 kilometers inside Earth, the outer core is filled with molten iron and nickel, constantly moving in powerful swirling currents. This movement generates an enormous electric flow, and from that motion, a massive magnetic field is born. This process is called the geodynamo. The result is an invisible force field that stretches far beyond our atmosphere, surrounding the planet like a protective shield. Scientists call this region the Magnetosphere. Even though we cannot see it, this magnetic shield is one of the most important reasons life on Earth exists today. Every second, the sun blasts a stream of high-energy particles into space. This stream is known as the solar wind. Without protection, those particles would slam directly into our atmosphere and the surface of the planet. But Earth's magnetic field acts like a cosmic guardian. As the solar wind approaches, the magnetosphere pushes most of those charged particles away, forcing them to flow around our planet instead of crashing into it. Only a small portion slips through near the poles, where they interact with the atmosphere and create one of nature's most beautiful light shows, the aurora borealis in the north and the aurora australis in the south. These glowing waves of light are actually tiny reminders of the powerful shield protecting Earth every moment. But the magnetic field does far more than create beautiful skies. It protects our atmosphere from being slowly stripped away by the solar wind. It shields living organisms from dangerous cosmic radiation, and it helps keep the planet stable enough for life to thrive. In other words, the magnetic field is not just a scientific curiosity, it is a silent protector, constantly working day and night for billions of years. And if that invisible shield were to weaken or disappear entirely, Earth would suddenly become a very different place. If Earth suddenly lost its magnetic field, the first signs of trouble wouldn't appear on the ground. They would begin far above us, in space. Orbiting thousands of kilometers above Earth are thousands of satellites. These machines quietly power the modern world. They guide airplanes and ships, track storms, support global communications, and make navigation possible through systems like Global Positioning System. But these satellites survive in space partly because Earth's magnetic field shields them from the constant storm of charged particles coming from the sun. Without that protection, space around Earth would become far more dangerous. The stream of energetic particles known as the solar wind would strike satellites directly and far more intensely. High-energy radiation could begin damaging sensitive electronics inside these spacecraft. Circuits could overload, sensors could fail, memory systems could corrupt. Some satellites might start malfunctioning within days, others within weeks. Gradually, the systems we depend on would begin to collapse. Navigation would become unreliable as GPS satellites fail. Weather forecasting would lose critical data from orbiting sensors. Communication satellites could begin dropping signals across continents. Even parts of the global internet rely on satellite networks for remote regions. At first, these failures might seem small, a navigation error here, a communication blackout there. But as more satellites fall silent, the ripple effects would spread across the planet. Air travel, shipping routes, disaster monitoring, global broadcasting, all of it depends on technology floating quietly above Earth. And without the invisible protection of the magnetic field, that fragile network in space would suddenly be exposed to the full power of our star. But satellites are only the beginning, because what happens next reaches all the way down to the surface of our planet. If Earth lost its magnetic field, one of the most dramatic changes wouldn't happen on the ground, but in the sky above us. Normally, Earth's magnetic field guides charged particles from the sun toward the polar regions. When those particles collide with gases in our atmosphere, they create glowing curtains of light known as the aurora borealis in the north and the aurora australis in the south. These lights usually appear only near the Arctic and Antarctic circles. But without the magnetic field acting like a guide, those energetic particles would spread across the entire planet. Instead of being confined to the poles, they could enter the atmosphere almost everywhere. The result would be a sky unlike anything humans have ever seen. Waves of green, red, and purple light could ripple across continents, appearing above cities, deserts, forests, and oceans alike. For a moment, it might look breathtaking. But those glowing skies would also be a warning, because those lights would mean the planet's invisible shield is gone, and Earth is now directly exposed to the powerful energy streaming from the sun. The most serious danger of losing Earth's magnetic field would not appear immediately. It would grow quietly, slowly, and invisibly. Radiation. Right now, our planet is constantly bombarded by high-energy particles traveling through space. Some come from powerful explosions in distant galaxies known as cosmic rays. Others come from violent eruptions on the sun called solar storms. Normally, Earth's magnetic field acts like a massive shield. It deflects many of these charged particles, guiding them away from the planet before they can reach the surface. But without that shield, far more of this radiation would pour into our atmosphere. At first, most people on the ground might not notice anything unusual. Earth's thick atmosphere would still absorb a large portion of the incoming radiation. But higher in the sky, the effects would become clearer. Airline pilots, flight attendants, and frequent flyers could begin receiving significantly higher radiation exposure during long flights. Routes that travel near the poles would become especially risky. Over time, the increased radiation could raise health risks for humans, and it wouldn't only affect us. Many animals are also sensitive to environmental radiation. Increased exposure could slowly impact ecosystems, reproduction, and long-term survival for certain species. The change wouldn't happen overnight. Life on Earth would not suddenly disappear, but the planet would become a harsher place to live. A world where the invisible rain of energy from space reaches closer to the surface, reminding us how important that unseen magnetic shield truly is. Earth's magnetic field doesn't only guide our technology, it also guides life itself. Across the planet, many animals rely on this invisible force to navigate vast distances. Migrating birds can sense the magnetic field as they travel thousands of kilometers between continents. Sea turtles cross entire oceans and still return to the very beach where they were born. Even whales and certain insects appear to follow this natural compass hidden within the planet. Scientists call this remarkable ability magnetoreception, the biological sense that allows animals to detect Earth's magnetic field. But imagine if that invisible map suddenly disappeared. Migration routes that have existed for thousands of years could become confusing and unpredictable. Birds might struggle to find their seasonal destinations. Sea turtles could lose the path back to their nesting beaches. Entire populations of animals might wander off course. And when migration fails, ecosystems begin to change. Because for many species, survival depends on arriving at the right place, at exactly the right time. The final change would be the slowest, but also one of the most profound. Earth Earth's magnetic field doesn't just protect life on the surface. It also helps protect the very air we breathe. Every moment, the sun releases a powerful stream of charged particles called the solar wind. When this stream reaches Earth, our magnetic field pushes most of it away, preventing it from directly hitting the upper atmosphere. But if that protection disappeared, the solar wind would begin interacting with the atmosphere much more directly.